The old building stood shrouded in silence, a monument to forgotten dreams. Sandra hesitated at the entrance. The air hung heavy, thick with the scent of decay. She shivered. A single rusted sign creaked in the wind. Grand Hotel, it proclaimed, the letters faded and peeling. This place held a strange allure. Sandra felt drawn to it.
She stepped inside. Dust motes danced in the pale light that filtered through grimy windows. The air inside was cold, stagnant. Sandra wrapped her arms around herself. She could hear the sound of her own breath. A sudden noise made her jump. A soft metallic groan. It seemed to come from the far end of the lobby.
Sandra cautiously made her way towards the sound. There, almost hidden in the shadows, was an old lift. Its ornate metal cage was tarnished with age. The once bright paint was now chipped and faded. Sandra reached out a hand, her fingers tracing the cold, unyielding metal. The lift shuddered. A soft whisper echoed through the empty space.
"Help me, hello, is someone there?"
Silence met her question. Only the echo of her own voice remained. Sandra took a step back, her heart pounding in her chest. She told herself it was just the wind, just the building settling. But deep down, a shiver of unease ran down her spine.
Looking for something?
Sandra spun around, startled. A young man stood behind her, a smirk playing on his lips. He was tall and lean, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through her.
"Who are you?"
Tom, don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. Just curious why you're here. Most people tend to avoid this place.
His voice was smooth, confident, but there was something about his eyes, a glint of something that sent a shiver down Sandra's spine.
I was just curious. I saw the building and...
And you felt drawn to it?
Tom finished her sentence, his eyes narrowing. Sandra took a step back, suddenly feeling very vulnerable. How did he know what she was thinking?
This place has a way of doing that. It draws you in, whispers secrets in the dark. But be careful. Some secrets are best left buried.
Sandra's mind raced. Who was this strange man, and what did he mean? She had a bad feeling about this, a sense of foreboding that settled like a weight in her stomach. Memories of childhood fears, of things that went bump in the night, flashed through her mind. She had always been the cautious one, the one who avoided the dark corners and the creaking doors.
"I think I should go."
Her voice was barely a whisper. She turned to leave, but Tom's hand shot out, gripping her arm. His touch sent a jolt of fear through her.
Not yet. You haven't heard the best part.
He pulled her towards the lift. Sandra tried to resist, but his grip was too strong. The metal doors groaned open, revealing a dark and dusty interior. The air inside was thick and musty, heavy with the scent of decay. It felt like stepping into a tomb.
"What are you doing?"
Sandra asked, her voice trembling.
Don't you want to hear the secrets this lift holds?
Tom asked, a sly smile spreading across his face. He stepped inside and gestured for Sandra to follow. Reluctantly, she obeyed. As soon as she stepped into the lift, the doors slammed shut with a resounding clang. Sandra jumped back, her heart pounding in her chest.
Don't worry. It's just the lift doing its thing.
Tom chuckled, his voice echoing strangely in the confined space. He pressed a button. The lift shuddered, then began to descend. Slowly at first, then faster and faster. The air grew colder, the darkness more oppressive. Sandra felt a wave of dizziness wash over her. She leaned against the wall, her eyes squeezed shut. She could feel the lift plummeting downwards, as if falling into the very heart of the earth.
"What's down there?"
Sandra asked, her voice barely a whisper, her breath catching in her throat.
That's the question, isn't it? The one that haunts us all. What secrets does this lift hold? What mysteries lie beneath its rusted exterior? What stories does it whisper to those who dare to listen? Tales of the past, or warnings of the future?
His words sent a shiver down Sandra's spine, a cold dread settling in her bones. She had a feeling he already knew the answer, a dreadful certainty in his eyes. The lift lurched to a halt, throwing Sandra off balance, her heart pounding in her chest. The sudden stop sent a jolt of pain through her body, a sharp reminder of their precarious situation. She opened her eyes, blinking in the dim light, trying to make sense of their surroundings. They were in a basement, damp and dark, the air thick with an unsettling stillness. Cobwebs hung from every corner, and the air was thick with the smell of mildew, a testament to the place's age and neglect. In the center of the room stood a single flickering light bulb, casting long, grotesque shadows on the walls, adding to the eerie atmosphere.
What is this place? Why does it feel so wrong?
Sandra asked, her voice echoing in the silence, the sound bouncing off the cold, concrete walls. Tom didn't answer. He was staring at something in the corner of the room, his eyes wide with a strange mixture of fear and fascination, as if he was seeing something beyond the physical. Sandra followed his gaze. There, half hidden in the shadows, was a small wooden door, its surface worn and ancient. It looked old, out of place amidst the concrete and steel of the basement, a relic from another time.
Don't open it!
But Tom wasn't listening. He was already moving towards the door, his steps slow and deliberate. He reached out a hand and grasped the doorknob. It turned with a low, grating sound, like a scream echoing up from the depths of the earth. The door creaked open, revealing a blackness so profound that it seemed to swallow the light.
Tom, please, let's just go. We don't have to do this.
But Tom was gone. He had vanished into the darkness beyond the door, leaving Sandra alone in the cold, damp basement. She wanted to run, to escape back to the safety of the lift. But her legs felt like lead. She was frozen in place, paralyzed by fear. The air grew colder, the silence heavier. Sandra could hear the sound of her own breath, shallow and ragged. She closed her eyes, willing herself to wake up from this nightmare. But the darkness held her fast. She was trapped.
Breathing heavily.
Suddenly, a sound pierced the silence, a soft metallic groan. It was coming from the lift. Sandra's eyes flew open. The lift doors were slowly opening, revealing a sliver of light from the floor above. Hope surged through her, chasing away the shadows of fear. She wasn't trapped after all. She could escape.
Hesitant. Where was Tom? Had he found what he was looking for in that darkness? Or had the darkness found him?
Sandra hesitated for a moment, her gaze darting between the open lift doors and the dark abyss beyond the wooden door. A soft whisper echoed through the basement, seeming to come from the very walls themselves, as if the building was alive and trying to communicate.
Help me.
It was the same voice she had heard earlier, the voice from the lift, a voice that had haunted her thoughts ever since. But this time, there was something different about it, something that made her skin crawl. A note of urgency, of desperation, that tugged at her heartstrings. It was a plea for help, and it was coming from inside the darkness behind the door, a darkness that seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. Sandra's heart ached with a strange mixture of fear and pity, emotions that battled within her. She knew she should leave, escape while she still could, before it was too late. But something held her back, an invisible force that seemed to root her to the spot. A sense of responsibility, perhaps, or maybe just a morbid curiosity, a need to know what lay beyond the darkness. She couldn't leave Tom alone in there, to face whatever horrors lurked in the darkness, horrors that she could only imagine.
Determined, I can't leave him. I have to find him.
Taking a deep breath, Sandra stepped towards the door, her heart pounding in her chest. She could feel the darkness reaching out to her, cold and suffocating, as if it wanted to consume her. But she kept going, driven by a force she didn't understand, a force that compelled her to move forward. She reached the threshold and peered into the blackness beyond, her eyes straining to see what lay hidden in the shadows. The darkness seemed to press in on her, whispering secrets she couldn't understand. It was as if the shadows themselves were alive, breathing and murmuring in a language lost to time. She took another step, and then another, each one more hesitant than the last. The oppressive silence was broken only by the sound of her own footsteps echoing in the void. The floor beneath her feet felt uneven, crumbling. Every step was a gamble, the ground threatening to give way at any moment. The air was thick with the smell of decay, the stench of death. It clung to her skin, making it hard to breathe, as if the very atmosphere was poisoned. And then she saw it, a sight so horrifying that it rooted her to the spot, her heart pounding in her chest. A figure huddled in the corner, shrouded in shadows. It was barely visible, a dark silhouette against the darker background.
Tom, is that you?
The figure stirred, slowly turning to face her. But it wasn't Tom. It was something else, something far more sinister, something twisted and grotesque. its features contorted in a silent scream. It was a nightmare made flesh. Its eyes, two empty sockets, stared out at her with a hunger that chilled her to the bone. They seemed to pierce through her very soul.
Gasping, What are you? What do you want from me?
Sandra stumbled back, her scream dying in her throat. Fear paralyzed her, making it impossible to think clearly. She turned to run, but it was too late. The shadows seemed to close in around her, suffocating her escape. The lift doors were closing, the warm light from above shrinking with each passing second. She was trapped, the last glimmer of hope fading away, alone in the darkness with whatever that thing was.
Whispering, "Help me, please."
The lift shuddered to a stop. The sudden jolt threw her off balance, sending her crashing to the floor. Silence descended, heavy and absolute. It was as if the world itself had stopped. The only sound was the soft, rhythmic dripping of water somewhere in the darkness. Each drop echoed like a countdown, and the faint, haunting whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It was a voice that promised nothing but despair.
"Help me, please, someone."